Rachel actually was, and this series was actually very influential. When I first came to New York, I was just a PhD student, a gender and queer studies scholar, and I didn't really know a lot about sex. And then a guy asked me on a second date to go to an erotica reading, which I thought was kind of weird, but I ended up really liking it. And this is the story of my second date. Now is not the time for nostalgia. I remember our evening last summer. I was wearing a white sundress. He was late. So, Rachel Kramer Bussel is hosting this reading, he said. I know erotica can be hit or miss, but do you want to go? I didn't want to seem like a girl who'd never attended an erotic reading before, or didn't know who Rachel Kramer Bussel was. I felt nervous and silly. Marcelle! Sorry, working late. As John dashed up to the bar and ordered my martini, he flashed his sunny smile, and I relaxed a little. The room silenced as Miss Bussel took the podium, looking more like an Ivy League classmate, I thought, than an erotic reading organizer. John stood drinking whiskey as a petite woman recited her memoirs as a dominatrix on Wall Street. Before that night, I hadn't truly known what a dominatrix did. I took a gulp of my martini. The second reader narrated his exploits with a candy-sweet, barely legal intern who seduced him with her short skirts and screamed disturbingly hot filth while they fucked. I sat, uncertain of my reaction. I wasn't uncomfortable, but I was wet between the legs. By the third reading, I wanted to rub myself against the bar stool, and John kept looking at me and smiling as if this were the most natural thing in the world. I slowly let my lap fall open, one bared knee brushing his leg. Hidden by the countertop, he began to stroke my thigh, looking at our speaker with polite interest. I closed my eyes, listening. A trickle of liquid dripped down my inner leg. I heard him draw in a breath. "We'll only be a minute," he said. Taking my hand, he led me to the bar restroom. He brushed back my hair, and he kissed me. I was so aroused that I let him pick me up and place my bare ass cheeks on the cold, low sink. He pulled aside the strip of my thong and began to sink his fingers into me. "God, you're so wet," he said. "I've never seen this before." At first I wasn't sure how to take this. I met his smile and we kissed harder, his fingers vibrating and jerking inside me. I felt something unbearable fracturing between the legs. In splintering, glass-shard pain, I cried out as more liquid poured between my thighs. He moved faster, harder, and I felt the stab before breaking, freeing the fluids and letting loose a spray. "Shh," John whispered sternly as I came. I lay against his chest. When I straightened up, I started to unzip his eye-level jeans. I broke off with the sight of flesh that confronted me. How could a man who was 5'11" and 165 tops have an 8-inch cock like a tree trunk? My mouth opened automatically, but it didn't get very far around its object. I stopped looking helpless at it, stroking it, but unsatisfied. "This won't take long," said John. First, he moved it in front of my face so I could taste from underside to tip and loll my tongue around the head, lapping at its formidable girth. I licked for a while, longing for more, until he groaned and pulled it away. Then, he took down my straps to shove it in between my breast. I watched, mesmerized, as he took it in his slender hands and began to stroke it right in front of me. My jaw dropped in shock as he stifled a cry himself and shot copious cum all over the front of my white dress. I opened my mouth to protest, and instead he stuffed his fingers in. I tasted myself for the first time. It was like a sea-salted lemon. John told me later I had a very greedy look on my face. "It's white. It looks like water," he said, gesturing toward my dress as we sat back down. "You want another martini?" I was wet clear through. I listened to the reader, hearing words as if for the first time. Cock. Pussy. Cum. Desire. John met my gaze and smiled. Then he brought his hands together in applause. I looked around and saw that everybody was clapping. The reading had ended. We rode the subway home. I let myself into my apartment and slowly took off my soiled dress before placing it in the hamper. I stood for a few minutes before slipping into bed. The air conditioner hummed a familiar lull, and I covered myself with the comforter. I lay there for a very long time, wondering what had just happened to me.
Bravo.